Hi guys, today we are going to make 3 absolutely fabulous Valentine Day treats that the entire family will love. They can even help you make them. I'd like to welcome you to my backyard Kentucky homestead. My name is Kim, and let's get started. So the first one we're going to do is this shortbread cookie with jam. It calls for raspberry jam, but I'm guessing you could probably use strawberry if you wanted. So we're going to go ahead and get this made up. This is actually a very easy recipe. There are only 5 ingredients, 4 for the cookie and 1 for the raspberry jam, which I am using a homemade raspberry jam that I made a couple months ago. We need 1 cup of butter, 2/3 of a cup of sugar, a half a teaspoon of almond extract, and 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So we are going to go ahead and cream our butter and our sugar together till it's light and fluffy for about 5 to 7 minutes. Now my butter was cold, so I put it on the warmer and it got a little bit too warm. So we're going to go ahead and just get this into the pan, to the bowl. To that, we are going to add 2/3 of a cup of sugar. So I have a 1/3 cup measure, so I'm going to do 2 of these. So we're going to set this down, turn it on, and we're going to beat for about 5 to 7 minutes. I want to get one of those scraper beaters, because this doesn't do a great job of getting at the bottom. So we're going to just scrape the bottom, make sure everything is up near the beater and getting incorporated. Then we'll turn it back on for another few more minutes. So we're going to go ahead and switch to a hand mixer. There's just not enough in the bottom of this for my mixer beater to actually get a hold of it, so we're going to go ahead and just switch over to the hand mixer. So a little while later, we have fluffy butter and sugar. To that, we are going to add a half a teaspoon of almond extract. And then we're going to mix that in, and then we will start mixing in the flour. Okay, so we're going to start gradually adding this to this mixture. Just mix it up a little bit, and we'll add a little bit more till a ball forms. I'm going to go ahead and finish this by hand. The mixer's just not strong enough to do that. You know what? We're just going to go in. Yep, that's what we're going to do. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I dumped it from the steel pan, or the steel bowl, to this one, because that one was just a little bit too hard to reach into. What we're wanting to do is just make this into a ball so that it just all sticks together, and we're pretty much there. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover this with some plastic wrap, put it in the fridge for about an hour. So there we go. Just going to cover that, refrigerate for 1 hour, and then we'll be back. Alright, so our dough has chilled, and what we want to do is make 1-inch balls that we're going to go ahead and put a little thumbprint in. So I'm just going to use this to kind of measure out my dough. I'm going to kind of squish it together and make it into a little ball. Let me want to have about a 1-inch space. And I'm going to go ahead and squish the cracks back together. Put a little bit of jam in there, and then we're going to go on. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these, and then we'll go back through and do the jam, and then we'll get them in the oven. So I got a little bit more dough left. I'm going to do a second tray, but I want to go ahead and get this one in the oven. Okay, so we are going to put these into the oven at 350 degrees. It is preheated. And we're going to cook until the edges are lightly browned, so 14 to 18 minutes, after which we'll remove to a wire rack and cool completely. And then after that, we'll ice them once they're completely cool. So we'll get these in the oven. Take them out of the oven. Okay, so we will let these cool completely, and then we'll get the ones out of the oven. The last 4 or 5, let those cool completely, and then we'll make an icing for these. So we're going to finish up our cookies. We're going to make a glaze that we're going to drizzle over the cookies. So I have 1 cup of confectioner sugar in here. We're going to put a half a teaspoon of almond extract in. And then 2 to 3 teaspoons of water. So this is 1.5. Do 3. Just going to mix this up. See if we need to put any more water into it. Okay, unless I mismeasured the confectioner sugar, which I could have because I was using a 1/4 cup measure. This should not say 2 to 3 teaspoons of water. It should say probably tablespoons. But what you're wanting to do is to come to a consistency that you can drizzle. So, I mean, it's not like you just want to keep adding water. Mix it up very, very well, but just add a little bit of water at a time. So what we want is something that will end up drizzling like that. So if it's a little dry, add a little bit more water. If you happen to add too much water, you can always add a little bit more confectioner sugar. Now, hopefully this will work. Just gonna drizzle back and forth. Alright, I don't think I should put much more on any of these. So you could probably easily make a half a recipe. Start with a half a cup of confectioner sugar with a 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, and then, because I've got a lot left there. So I would start with a half recipe for this one. So I'll let these sit up overnight and then we'll plate them up. They look pretty though. Hi guys, so it is the next day. The raspberry almond shortbread was a huge hit at work today. Every bit of those cookies was gone before lunchtime. Today we are going to make a strawberry Rice Krispie treat using freeze-dried strawberries. Now if you don't have freeze-dried strawberry powder, you could probably, I'm guessing, use a strawberry quick milk powder mix. Probably would do the same thing. So let me show you what we need to make these Rice Krispie treats, and then we'll get them going. Here's what we need for this. We need a 9x13 pan that has been sprayed. We need about 1 ounce of freeze-dried strawberries that have been powdered in the food processor. We need 8 cups of rice cereal, so crispy rice cereal. We need a 16-ounce bag of marshmallows, 6 tablespoons of butter, and then we'll need a little bit more mini marshmallows to throw into the mix when we're almost done, and then a little bit of vanilla for flavor. So let's go over to the stove and get this started. So the first thing we need to do is get 6 tablespoons of butter, and if you've never seen, or if you look at the butter stick, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we cut it on that line, put the bigger piece into the pan, we've got 6 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and let that start melting. And then what I'm going to do is take the other end of it, put the paper over it, and then I'll put this in a plastic bag and we'll use it again later. So it's getting close to being melted. I'm going to go ahead and put those marshmallows in. So it's a whole 16-ounce bag. And we do want to continue to stir this continuously because this is going to get very sticky. I think I'm going to switch to a flat spatula. It'll help clear the bottom better. Alright, I think that just about has it. We're going to switch back over to the other counter. To this, we're going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. It's homemade vanilla. And we're also going to put our strawberry powder in. And then we're going to mix this till well combined. Look how pretty that is. This is gonna be awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and start putting our cereal in. And the way I usually do this is that I'll put a little bit in, start mixing it up. Okay, that's pretty good. The recipe does call for mini marshmallows as well, but I think I'm going to skip that and just do it more traditional. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go ahead and dump it into our 9x13 pan. Let go. Okay. To get this into the pan, what I'm going to do is go ahead and actually spray my hands. And makes it a whole lot easier to get this squished down without it sticking to you. Just want to make it even throughout the pan. And then one more thing that I'm going to do is that I have some pink glittery sugar. Just sprinkle this over the top. And then just press it into the crispy. Especially those little balls, and just make sure to get those down in. Oops. Spread it around. Everybody gets a little bit of the good stuff. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let this set up completely. It needs to harden up, so it'll cool down and it'll get solid like crispy treats do. And then we'll give it a cut it up and give it a try. And we're back. It is another day. The Rice Krispie treats were an absolute sensation. They were delicious. Absolute hit. Everyone loved them. We'll definitely be making those again. The freeze-dried strawberries were just a huge fresh pop of wonderful summer goodness in the middle of January. So for the third one we're going to be doing for this Valentine treats video is red velvet whoopie pies. Now, I have not made these before, ever, so this is going to be an interesting experiment. But I'm sure we'll do well. So what we need to make this is some white vinegar, 2 eggs at room temperature, 1.5 sticks of butter, some cocoa powder, baking soda, some red food coloring, salt, sour cream, baking powder, some vanilla, some flour, some sugar, and some chocolate chips that we're going to melt here in a minute. So let me get this cleared off and then we will go ahead and start getting things mixed up. So we need 3/4 of a cup of butter, which is 1.5 sticks. So we're going to go ahead and pop that into the bowl. And this is softened. We need 1 cup of sugar. And then we're going to go ahead and mix this until it's light and fluffy. It says for about 5 to 7 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and use the mixer for the wet portion of this. Once we move on to adding the dry ingredients, I will be moving to just a regular spoon because the mixer is not strong enough to handle that. So let me break this up just a little bit to start. Well, that's not good. There we go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and beat this for 5 to 7 minutes. Phew. So that was about 5 to 7 minutes. That was about 6 minutes. So we're going to go ahead to the next step, and that is to beat in our eggs, our sour cream, food coloring, vinegar, and vanilla. So we need 2 large eggs. And I'm going to go ahead and crack them in this bowl just to be safe. Don't want to have to fish any egg shells out. Okay, 2 eggs. Whenever I touch raw egg, I go ahead and wash my hands before I move to the next step. So, 2 eggs, sour cream, which is a 1/2 cup. Stir it. So it says 1 tablespoon, but it doesn't say whether to use a gel or liquid. I have a gel. So let's see how that goes. It's gonna be red. Okay. And then we need 1½ teaspoons of white vinegar. Just 1. 1/2. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. This calls for clear vanilla, but I only have my homemade vanilla, so we're just going to use that. Not sure why you would use clear, it doesn't make sense, but we're just going to use the homemade vanilla. We need about a teaspoon. Okay, so we have 3/4 cup of butter, 1 cup of sugar, 2 large eggs, 1/2 cup of sour cream, 1 tablespoon of red food coloring, 1½ teaspoons of white vinegar, and vanilla. And then we are going to mix this up so that it's thoroughly combined. It's very Valentine-ish. So we're going to go ahead and mix our dry ingredients together, whisk them together so that they're well mixed. And we need 2 1/4 cup, it's 1/3 cup, of course. So it's 1 cup. Okay, so we need 2 1/4 cups of flour. So that's 1, 2, okay, and then 1/4. So we need 1/4 cup of baking cocoa. 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and be sure you're using baking powder, not baking soda. They are not the same exactly. Baking powder has something else in it besides baking soda. So we need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And the baking powder is what's going to give it the cake-like quality. And we need 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. and then a half a teaspoon of salt. And the reason that we're mixing the dry ingredients together before we put them into the wet ingredients is so that we don't get one of these salty bites just clumped up because of the wet ingredients. We want to make sure that we have all of this mixed well together. So I'm going to use this slotted spoon initially to try to get it mixed up. Yeah, I think that'll work well. All right. It'll also allow some air to be sifted into the flour, which will make it lighter. So we have 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 of a cup of baking cocoa, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, and then we will need to melt some chocolate. Let me go ahead and do that. So we need 2 ounces of chocolate melted and then cooled. So I'm going to go ahead and melt it in a microwave. And then we'll incorporate the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. And then the chocolate should be cool enough to then mix it. I'm using semi-sweet chocolate. So I put my dish on here. It's microwave safe. I'm going to hit the tare button. I'm going to measure out 2 ounces. Too much. All right, so we'll go ahead and pop this in the microwave for about 30 seconds. So our chocolate is soft. We've melted that. And let that sit there. Bring this back over. We're going to slowly start incorporating this into our red mix here. Get something else. This isn't strong enough. All right, so we got a stronger spoon. I'm going to go ahead and start getting this mixed in. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and mix this chocolate bits in. All right, I think that's good. Now I would highly recommend wearing the kitchen gloves because my hands are probably going to be red for several days now. So the next thing that we want to do is drop dough by tablespoonfuls, 2 inches apart onto parchment lined paper. Bake for 8 to 10 minutes until the edges are set. Cool in the pan for 2 minutes and remove to a wire rack. I do have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. So what I'm going to do is take a scoop of the mixture, drop it down on the pan. And they are going to spread, so I'm going to go ahead and give them plenty of room in between. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get this pan into the oven for 8 to 10 minutes, and we'll get the other pan set up. So just do the very same thing. Alright, so I have to wait for the oven to finish the first batch, then we'll get the second batch in, and then we'll let those cool. And then once they're all cool, we'll make the filling and put them together. For the filling, we're going to need 2 1/2 cups of powdered sugar, about 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 stick of butter, so half a cup of butter, and then 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese. And to start, we are going to go ahead and mix the butter and cream cheese together until fluffy. And I'm going to go ahead and try to use my mixer. To make this a little easier, I'm also going to go ahead and try to cut this up just a little bit. Very, very carefully. Oh, don't want to cut yourself. And we're going to go ahead and put in about 2 teaspoons of vanilla. All right, that looks pretty good, I think. To figure out the best way to cross these, what you're going to do is take half of them and put the filling on it, and then you're going to cover it the other half. Let's see. Take a spoon. And voila, you have a whoopie pie. Looks good. I had a half of one extra, so I'm going to go ahead and do a taste test on that one. It's like red velvet cake. It's really good. Yum. So there you go. We have 3 delicious Valentine's Day treats everyone's going to love. If you're interested in more options, check out this video I did last year. And until the next time, I wish you a happy Valentine's Day and have a great day, and bye.